Today we're looking at mountain man Hugh Glass. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out dailybellringer.com where you'll find more resources that go with many of the Bellringer videos. Hugh Glass was one of the most legendary frontiersmen of the early 1800s. Known for his incredible survival story after a grizzly bear attack, Glass became a symbol of strength, determination, and endurance in the wild American West. His life was full of danger, exploration, and mystery, and even today, his story continues to inspire books and movies. Very little is known for sure about Hugh Glass's early life. He was likely born around 1783 in Pennsylvania, although some historians believe he may have been born in Ireland. As a young man, Glass may have worked as a sailor. It is reported that he was captured by pirate Jean Lafitte off the coast of Texas and forced into service aboard his pirate ship. Later, he lived with Native Americans for several years after escaping or being released. Though the facts about his early years are unclear, by 1821, he had made his way to St. Louis, Missouri. By this time, Hugh Glass had become a mountain man, a rugged explorer, trapper, and fur trader in the wilderness of the American frontier. In 1822, Glass joined a fur trading expedition organized by General William Henry Ashley and Andrew Henry, who led a group of trappers up the Missouri River. This group became known as Ashley's 100, a team of rugged hired men to explore and trap in the unexplored lands of the West. They traveled by boat, on foot, carrying their supplies, and working together to survive. Among this group were several famed mountain men, including James Beckwourth, Jim Bridger, and Jebediah Smith. Mountain men like Hugh Glass traveled into the wild territories west of the Mississippi River. They hunted animals for fur, especially beavers, which were in high demand for making hats and coats in Europe and in America. These men lived in harsh conditions, often facing extreme weather, wild animals, and conflicts with Native American tribes. The event that made Hugh Glass famous occurred in 1823 during an expedition near the Grand River in present-day South Dakota. While scouting ahead of the group, Glass surprised a grizzly bear and her two cubs. The massive bear attacked him, slashing Glass with its 4-inch claws, grabbing Glass and throwing him to the ground, biting and piercing his flesh with its fangs. Other trappers heard Glass's screams for help and rushed to the scene of the vicious attack. The other trappers were able to shoot and kill the bear. Glass was alive, but just barely. He was left with terrible injuries. He was mauled badly, his scalp was torn, his leg was broken, and his ribs were exposed. One of the other trappers, Hiram Allen, recorded the monster had torn the flesh from the lower part of the body and from the lower limbs. He also had his neck shockingly torn. For 2 days, the group continued carrying Glass with them. The leaders of the group thought he wouldn't survive. They asked for 2 volunteers, John Fitzgerald and Jim Bridger, to stay with Glass until he died, then bury him. After several days, Fitzgerald and Bridger abandoned Glass. They took his gun and supplies and left him in a shallow grave alone in the wilderness. They later told the others that Glass had died. But Glass amazingly did not die. Against all odds, he regained consciousness. Alone, without food, weapons, or protection, Glass began to crawl and limp over 200 miles to the nearest settlement at Fort Kiowa near present-day Chamberlain, South Dakota. He survived by eating berries, roots, and even insects. He used river currents to travel faster and covered himself with animal hides to stay warm. It took him nearly 6 weeks to reach safety. His survival became one of the most incredible stories of survival on the American frontier. After recovering, Glass set out to find the 2 men who had abandoned him. He wanted justice. He eventually found Jim Bridger, the younger of the 2, but instead of harming him, Glass forgave him because he was young and had likely been pressured by Fitzgerald. Glass also tracked down John Fitzgerald, who had joined the army. Since Fitzgerald was a soldier, Glass could not take revenge without being punished by the law. Glass warned Fitzgerald to never leave the army, or he would certainly track him down and kill him. After his incredible survival, Hugh Glass returned to the frontier life. He continued trapping and trading in the Rocky Mountains and the Great Plains. In 1833, about 10 years after the bear attack, Glass was killed in a battle with Arikara Native Americans near the Yellowstone River. He was traveling with other trappers at the time, and his body was never recovered. Hugh Glass's story was told and retold by other mountain men, writers, and later historians. It became a legend, part true and part myth. His tale was passed down in newspapers and books. And in modern times, his story became even more famous through the 2015 film The Revenant, where actor Leonardo DiCaprio played Glass and won an Oscar for his role. Though parts of the story may have been exaggerated over time, there is no doubt that Glass's journey was one of the greatest survival stories in American history. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.